in January 2020, 1 month after the EU Green Deal launched, the European Commission actually published the Sustainable Europe Investment Plan, and some would like to call them the European Green Deal Investment Plan. So this is particularly important as it settles the ground on how the EU actually plans to finance the Green Deal. And it gives more details on the levels of funding mobilized and insights on the delivery mechanisms to channel those funds. So in large numbers, the EU Green Deal plans to mobilize at least 1 trillion euros of private and public sustainable investments in the next 10 years. Basically, these funds on the public side, they will come from the EU budget, the member states, the European Investment Bank, and the EU emissions trading schemes revenue from carbon allowances. So just to illustrate some of the key delivery channels that actually the EU Green Deal will include is the first, the European Structural Investment Funds that most of you know, the Investment EU program. And there is a new thing that it's coming up. So it's the new Just Transition Mechanisms, which is a new facility that will be launched by the EU Green Deal to support regions most heavily dependent on fossil fuels. So finally, to add to this equation on investment and funding, in May 2020, the EU ratified a COVID-19 recovery plan for Europe. So it's called the Next Generation EU. It amounts on 750 billion of additional support and reinforcement to the EU countries. And the Next Generation EU plans mention the EU Green Deal components. But for many analysts, it's not yet clear if this plan to COVID-19 will reduce some of the EU Green Deal investment commitments or increase them. It's not very clear till now. First, it's important to say that the EU Green Deal represents a major shift for European environmental policy. And the action and access of finance at the city level will be key to achieve the program's ambitions targets. Well, first, the majority of the finance available for the EU Green Deal implementation will be likely channeled through existing EU funds and institutions, but more information is still needed to understand whether these delivery mechanisms and funding commitments, one, will be sufficient for the European Union decarbonization targets, and secondly, if they will actually be a game changer to address the city needs, including to urban climate smart infrastructure. So what do we know so far is that although there isn't an explicit mention of cities in the EU Green Deal investment plan, many of the EU funds mentioned on this Green Deal investment plan actually do finance urban climate smart infrastructure today. So such as the Cohesion Fund, the European Regional Development Fund, another fund that is very known, the LIFE program, the Horizon 2020, that's now going to be called Horizon Europe. All of these programs are expected to increase the amount of funding to climate smart projects. So we might expect an overall funding for cities to increase beyond those past levels as the funds are increasing. So yet the implementation steps and the design of those delivery mechanisms will be critical. We don't know yet what's going to happen. And they will definitely set the tone for how European cities advance on their much needed green recovery. I can mention you 4 main obstacles that the European cities will face to access EU climate funds. The first one are political constraints. So most EU level funds are directed to national governments. So if there is any political divergency between different levels of government, this will bring, of course, obstacles to cities to have access to EU climate funds. The second challenge I could raise are regulatory and budgetary constraints. So most of the EU funds require from 45% or more on co-financing from cities. So for municipal authorities, we generally have tight budgets and often very limited borrowing capacity. Some cities in Europe cannot even borrow from private financial markets due to internal regulation. This requirement is quite hard to meet. Of course, the COVID-19 crisis has further exacerbated this problem specifically. So we estimate that local government revenue could be like 15 to 25% lower in 2021 due to that. So this would increase this already very present challenge. The third challenge would be capacity building constraints. So we know that many cities in the EU, particularly small and medium-sized cities, they have insufficient administrative and human resources, and of course, technical knowledge to prepare funding applications that are often very complicated. Some, for example, are only in English, and some countries don't actually, city officials don't speak English. So to ensure the bankability of this potential investments, capacity building is definitely an issue. And the fourth challenge I wanted to raise is that often it's hard for cities to understand and navigate EU funds, not only for cities, as we know. So identify suitable sources of funding among such a wide range of EU climate-related funds is a major challenge for cities. One key improvement that you could do to cities to have access to climate funds would be responding to political constraints. So we would be simply simplifying it and expanding the access modalities for EU funds. This could be a goal during the preparation period of every programming period. So making more direct access funding channels available to cities. So in parallel, another solution could be expanding the key urban relevant programs in funds such as the Horizon 2020 Life, while also mainstreaming urban action across programs that would be important to increase city level climate action. A third key improvement, in my opinion, would be basically on project preparation facilities. Like they should be definitely strengthened to respond to capacity building constraints in cities in Europe. These facilities, while accessing city officials, they could also be a potential source of knowledge about the EU funding opportunities. So at the same time that they will help cities in Europe to have bankable projects and to build on the climate resilience and the climate smart projects, they could also help to solve the knowledge gaps for many of the EU municipalities.